my name's Karen Seda. In this video, I'm going to show you how we turn 2,800 leads into 42 closed roofs. Now, this is part 3 of my Breezy roofing breakdown. The first video I kind of gave what is Breezy, what was opportunity. Part 2 is how I ran ads, how I set up a creative engine to handle 800K worth of ad spend. In this video, I'm going to show you the systems that allowed 3 setters, 2 closers to handle 2,800 leads and convert them into 42 closed roofs. This is going to be a pretty deep dive on the tech stack, the sales flows, and my most tactical video I made so far. This video has 4 sections. 1, the first problem, we weren't fast enough. 2, the solution, how we became fast and set up our CRM for speed. 3, how we set up Slack for lifetime feedback and just a really good overview, just logging into the app. And then a system that created freedom. Okay, and here's the receipts for everybody. Here's July of 2025, 42 win opportunities. You can see our lead breakdown based on credit score and total contact count. All right, so let's jump into number 1. We weren't fast enough. So time was our villain. That was our enemy. We concluded that our homeowner is 45-year-olds and up, our avatar who we're selling to, and they're busy. They have kids at soccer practice. They have grandkids at practice. The boss is calling them. They have 30 distractions. And if you don't reach them within seconds, you're basically gone, right? It's irrelevant to them. And so deals weren't lost to objections and maybe sometimes competitors, but deals were lost to delay, right? Delay of reaching out to them in the beginning, so we solved for that. Here's what I imagine happening. Mom's taking 2 kids to practice. She's in the car at a red light on her phone on Facebook. Probably no, but so I imagine how people use Facebook sometimes. And here's a cool little graph showing you how high the contact rate is if you do it in the first 5 minutes compared to the time. So what broke even further down with speed is we realized the quicker we contacted them, obviously the higher the contact rate. But not only that matter on the setting level of calling the lead and setting the appointment, it also mattered on the closing level. So we'd want to get them set and with a phone call the closer as soon as possible, right? So let's jump into it. How do we do it? So first we use GoHighLevel for our CRM for speed. And I picked GoHighLevel after talking to a few of my high-ticket lead gen friends, and they swore by it because it's super customizable and has email automation. And the flows were good, but I'll share my opinion on this later. So then we set up a system in Slack where the second a lead came in, it shot over all the information to a channel called hunting. Basically, we're hunting those leads, right? It'd break down their name, the state, the credit score, and then when they wanted to get done. Now, in the event that they had a cosigner, we asked for what is the exact score they have and what is the cosigner score. So the second that the lead got filled out, we shot off an SMS, basically letting them know that we got their ad, their form fill on the ad, and we saw they barely inquired about a zero-down roofing program, and we're going to be reaching out to them in the next 10 minutes, right, from a 725 area code. The reason why the area code is important is because they don't have their contacts saved. Them seeing the 725 recognizes it with your company. If they didn't respond in about 3 to 5 minutes, we sent this message here and gave them a booking link. Now, a major game changer is we created a contacting dispo called Rapid Fire. So what Rapid Fire meant is the setter qualified the lead, knew they had a good credit score, knew they had damage, and they wanted to move forward. So basically a qualified customer, which made it super high priority. And what they did at that point is they went and designed the estimate, and then they dispoed it Rapid Fire. That means within 10 to 15 minutes, we'll have one of our closers on the phone with them. And then the second that happens, we shoot off a VSL. And this was really powerful. So setter sets the appointment, shoots them on Rapid Fire, tells them, hey, a closer, or project manager is what they were called, will be reaching out to you in 15 minutes. In the meantime, I just sent you over a text link, watch this video. At the time, had a different hairstyle, bit longer, no beard. But what we did in this VSL is that we overcame all the objections our closers would share with us, post-call. So we covered our licenses, we covered what the payments might look like, we covered the materials, we covered the warranty, what the call would look like so they can expect how the call goes, and then social proofs. We would show customer testimonials and other stats within this video. From there, we had automated SMS sequences. So in the event they didn't answer our setters, and they made it past our follow-up sequence. So we had a follow-up sequence internally where the first day, the setter calls them within the first few seconds on our main line in the morning or whenever they fill out the lead. Later in the evening, then they call them on a different phone software called Q or OpenPhone, and I'll share that later. And they do that for about 3 days with the qualified leads. And for us, a qualified lead was anything with a 630 to 700 credit score or 700 plus, or a low credit score with a strong cosigner. And they do that. Now, after that, they are put into a 3-day follow-up sequence with SMS and email. After that, they are pushed into a 3-month. And then it was really cool to have these kind of sequences built out on the holidays. Let's say if there was 4th of July, if there was Black Friday or Christmas, we always like to do, hey, let us cover the barbecue. We'll send you a $300 Amazon gift card if you can get everything rolling today. Or hey, let us cover the presents under the tree. We want to send you an Amazon gift card. And those always got stuff put together. Now here's something fun I did with GoHighLevel. So when you're doing financing of roofs, of course you're going to run into some low credit score people. So opposed to manually calling and dealing with all the low credit scores, we created an AI bot, which basically the second it recognized that a low credit score, it talked to them back and forth, asking if they had a cosigner, like, hey, do you got a cosigner? And I imagine, it's kind of fun to think the AI looks like Wall-E here. And here's a little bit of some of the prompt that we're doing. All right, so that is kind of the CRM, how we set up for speed, all right? Now this is my favorite part, is how we set up Slack. Kind of a nerd with the Slack. I really appreciate a good Slack setup. So we had a few channels: customer support for customer tickets, gift support. We love to see when our project managers send out our customers cookies. So the second we close the deal, within hours, we'd be sending them out a box of cookies just to increase, I guess the word's decrease people who cancel, right? Project management, you can see this GoHighLevel is having issues. News, close deals. Sometimes a customer would call in and say, hey, they got their credit up. They would approve a credit check, so we put our information in that channel. End of day reports, which we'll see are really useful later. Rapid fires, setter booked, setter end of day reports, and et cetera, okay? And here's that hunting channel, which is pretty cool, with the inbound lead notification, state, credit score. And you may ask why the state's really important. The state's really important because the closers and setters know what the top states are that convert and have the most damage. Okay. So this is pretty cool. So after the setter set an appointment, and sometimes there's volume spikes, and we only had the 2 closers, we had to create a system to rank the leads. So we figured out what was our highest converting lead, and we created it into a tier system. And it's kind of what it looks like. So a high intent lead was a credit score of 630 or higher, who had active roof damages, high urgency, such as the insurance dropping them. Like, dude, I need to get my roof replaced, my insurance is gonna drop you. They had a good connection with the setter of the phone and wasn't shopping and doesn't wanna pay cash, right? Cash buyers are always trying to hustle. They call 12 contractors and we couldn't beat them on price because of our nationwide reach and our install partners. Tier 2 were moderate intent, active roof damages, high urgency, the insurance dropping them, good connection, no shopper, and they wanted to get it done in the next 30 days. But the thing what made it different is their credit score, because that credit score was a hit or miss with our financing people, so it made it tier 2. So that's the main differentiator between tier 1 and tier 2, was depending what can get approved. Now tier 3 is either a super high credit score, and that went one of 2 ways. One, they were really happy what they offered, but sometimes these high credit score guys, they get 12 quotes, and as mentioning, us being a nationwide company, we couldn't compete on those prices. So that was a tier 3. And cash buyers, any of my contracting friends, like the guys say, hey, we'll pay all cash, they're always looking for a crazy deal. So here's an example of what this looks like. So in our rapid fire channel, what the closer would see and then expect to be, expect that the closers would call them within 10 to 15 minutes of coming in, they would see the name. So here's an example. The name, the tier, the state, and then depending on what phone line we use. Same thing here, same thing here. Now, let's go into, you might have noticed some emojis here, okay? Now, obviously all this stuff I'm gonna cover was dispoed in our CRM for KPIs. But people like to update stuff live time, and the closers and the setters aren't going to go back and forth and GoHighLevel. Sometimes it's slow. So we created an emoji system where if it went green on the rapid fire, it means someone showed. X, no show. The skull and crossbones, I'm sorry, failed credit. This little file folder means we got the person qualified and approved to move forward, but we couldn't close them. That way we can go through and QA the call and see why it didn't convert. The pray hands are for we were hoping for a cosigner call back and the hope there'll be a sale. Shopping is the customer shopping purely on price, cares about nothing else. Toilet paper, this one's true. The loan got approved but not for enough, or there were stips on the loan, so it was not that good for us. And then a flag means the closer went through the entire pitch, which is good, right? It made it through the entire pitch. And then this little guy right here is our red phone. And it means for the setters, if this was a no-show, that later in the day, Gary would call and follow up with them. So he see there's a no-show at 9:18. He could go through the rapid fires and see this was a high-intent appointment, like it was a tier 2. It needs to call it back. And we just want to see that red phone there to make sure he did it. All right. So like I said, every outcome was logged in the CRM for clean reporting, but the Slack made it way more live time. And also, the way we did this allowed for the setters and closers to talk with each other about what's going on with the deal, if there's any questions. Sometimes they'd be on the phone, a closer would be on the phone, have a question for a setter, or ask like why was there 3 estimates, one with a full redeck, one with a partial redeck, one with a certain class of shingles. And sometimes it's not in the notes in the CRM, so they get some live updates in Slack. All right, now let's see one thing here that I refuse to automate, and I wanted to keep it as manual as possible. And this might bleed into this section here, which is systems that outlast me, but we'll leave it here because it integrates in the Slack. 2 things. 1, the setter end-of-day report. 2, the closer end-of-day report. And this is an example. So the setter, depending who the setter was, they would fill out their information, the date, how many appointments they set, how many calls were made of OpenPhone, how many calls were made via CRMX. Did you call all the leads within 60 seconds? If yes, great. But if B, this question then becomes required down here on the bottom, what time of day was it and how did you feel overwhelmed? Because I'd much rather hire staff than slower the time to contact, right? Time to contact is number 1. Hiring staff is easy for this kind of role. And then they have them score the lead quality. So we can see if the ads are running, if we're getting different kinds of leads, because obviously the setter's on the first, they're on the front lines. So here's an example of one filled out. All right, total appointment set, 6, phone calls. Did you call the leads? Yes. Just letting you know it was quite busy in the morning, leads coming in, people calling the number as well. Lead score is good. A lot of leads came with that answer, but the challenge is getting them qualified. So this was a time we were dealing with some financer issues. Then you can see the conversation from this end-of-day report. I wanted to know more. So we went into threads, went back and forth. And something this simple saves you from tons of meetings and also makes your team feel like you're listening to them. Same thing on the closer side, right? We would want to know the date, how many appointments were attempted, so they called total, how many appointments showed, how many price drops, meaning you made it through the entire pitch, how many approvals, so loan approvals, meaning a loan approval, our company was over 80% loan approved to close. So there was an approval that didn't close, we had to QA the call and see what happened there. Total approvals with steps and not full amounts, total closes, and then why didn't it close, and you need to give me a reason. You gotta see what's going on. So here's an example, the date, how many did you call, how many showed, how many price drops, how many approval, why didn't it close, all right? All right, so we're almost at the end of the video here. And this is section number 4. The systems that outlast me and the outcome of it all. So first, everything about our company is super documented in Notion. Everything about all our loan partners, how to manage the setters, how to deal with project support, closers, SCPs, meeting agenda, the education, closing, and even the Slack lingo. And then if those step-by-step tutorials weren't enough, we have Loom videos here and baked into it. I would say Loom and Notion have been a massive tool for me because it just saves me so much time and we can onboard someone with barely any meetings, right? From there, we mentioned the call stack already, but when we first reach out to a lead, we use GoHighLevel Twilio to go reach out. If they didn't answer, later in the day we call them on OpenPhone just to switch up the number and not burn our primary. After 3 days, then we took that information, put it into a thing called Call Tools. Call Tools has every single area code in the US, and then we just have a VA, kind of smile and dial, if you will, to get those back. Then we set up our backend. So we use GoHighLevel as a sales machine in managing that pipeline. It's basically customer facing. The closer, obviously does its thing, closes it, signs the deals. After that, we moved it to Monday.com for project management. All right. So first in Monday.com, we would go ahead and pick out our stages, just making sure we knew where it was at. Like, was it a new lead? Is it in scheduling? Is it in permitting? Install scheduled, installed, one needs attention, and did it cancel, unfortunately, or did it cancel to external factors? Sometimes our installers would cancel out a job, which would suck, but we would just mark that off for tracking reasons. Then obviously here, if there was something holding back the job, we know that as well on a status. Like if there was a color pending, meaning the customer didn't pick out their color of their roof. If there was a change order, meaning the job was in progress, but then here's a change order, like there was more damage on the roof than we expected, and so on and so forth. And so the main thing is we want to know at a glance, is this backed by money, a change order, blocked by paperwork, is it blocked by a human decision? Sometimes our installers wouldn't want to install during certain weather patterns, so we had to put a little bit of pressure on them. Is it blocked by the lender? Yeah, sometimes we had STIPs, right? Proof of address verification. The customer would have to send in the front and the back of their ID and like a power bill to the lender. It took some time. And then, like I said, sometimes the installer slowed our deals down. So it gave us full transparency on every single level of where the roof was at. And then who owns the problem, right? So after we figured out who it was, we'd make sure it was assigned to somebody, the setter, never really the setter. Majority of the time, the closer, our ops manager, or the installer, right? Because the lender thing was handled by the closer. Now, as someone who spends a ton of money on Facebook ads, cash flow was our biggest thing. Like it was massive, right? We were sending out around 35 grand a week, and we had to know exactly when that money was coming back in. Just because you don't do businesses for no money, we are a for-profit company. And so yeah, we just tracked everything. We would track the day we sold the deal to the day it got installed. Those are two different things, right? So the day we sold it and the day we got installed, and then track from the day, my fingers are all over the place down here, but the day we got installed to the day we got paid, so we can understand the cash flow cycle. We would track gross revenue per job, the company payout, the installer payout, and if there's any payment issues. And then last but not least, post-install follow-through. We tracked making sure the cookies were sent. We always want to verify our customers got sent cookies before the install. We always want to ask for a review every single time. And then if we ask for the review, make sure it gets completed because people forget. And we always ask for referrals. So the rule is every customer gets asked for a review, every customer gets asked for a referral, and Monday made sure that was happened. So we cover the steps. Step number 1 is going to be making sure time is not your enemy. 2 is going to be building the solution to make sure everything goes really fast. 3 is, I love Slack for this, but creating like a lifetime system where you can see everything is going and see the communication of your team. And this is how we broke it down from, scoring the leads to lifetime of the communication and the threads. And as I mentioned, everything was getting updated in the CRM. And then the last section is making sure you create a system that lasts you so you can go enjoy your life a little bit. This was me after grinding for a long period of time in Hawaii. I was kind of stoked because I was on my computer for like 1 hour. We sold 14 roofs. I was at the beach in Hawaii. I had 105K in Amex bill, but I wasn't stressed. So thanks for watching my video on how we turned 2,800 leads into 42 roofs closed with our systems. Thanks, guys.